hilarious, emotional, college, playboy, man whore, fucked. Blonde, yes, I said it. Hashtag end hate for blonde men. Hot. Pines for her from the sidelines, being her personal bodyguard. Till the plot twist hit, instant 5-star. Welcome back to Romance and Rosé, where we exclusively read romance and hardly ever drink rosé. We are halfway into 2026. Can you believe it? It has gone by so fast, and in my 30 years of life experience, the back 6 months always feels like it flies by twice as fast. But today we're going to do our halfway through the year check-in, where I tell you all the best books I have read so far in 2026. And I wanted to keep this video nice and tight and give you guys just my top 10 books of the year so far, but I did end up settling on 12. That's because one of them is a duet and the other was like the second book in a series, so I kind of felt like those counted as one. It's still kind of my top 10, while technically being a dozen. In no particular order, I loved all of these books. I'm just going to start with the ones that I have physical copies of. One that you might recognize, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I read this back in the beginning of winter, just days before the film came out, and I fell absolutely in love with Alex and Poppy. Their story was hilarious, emotional, relatable in so many different ways. I've definitely gone more in depth into the story in past videos, but the gist of the plot is Alex and Poppy met in college, quickly became best friends, and made it a tradition to go on one vacation together every year. Present day, you know, they're not really in each other's lives anymore, and Poppy wants to change that, so she sort of orchestrates an opportunity for them to go on a vacation together again. But there's this sort of elephant in the room of you as the reader not knowing why they're not as close anymore. So then you get to see flashbacks of past vacations leading up to the last vacation they went on and why it sort of put a wedge in their friendship and caused them to be apart all this time. Emily Henry, in my opinion, is an amazing writer. All of her books are very palatable, very easy to blitz through in 1 or 2 sittings because she just hooks you and makes you really invested in her characters. This is one of the books that I put in my summer reading recs video because I think everyone should read this book any time of year, but summer, I mean, is the perfect time. Maybe even while you're on a vacation. Then Amazon Prime dropped the Off-Campus series, and it was so good. It was delicious. It was so masterfully adapted, and I, like many other fans of the show, became rapidly obsessed with the Dean and Allie subplot of season 1. And once the season ended, I just wasn't ready to be done with them, and I thought I have to reread their book, The Score by Elle Kennedy. But once I started reading, it became very apparent that I don't think I had ever read this book, which kind of makes a lot of sense because I couldn't really remember much. I just thought that it was book amnesia. But after about, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 7 chapters, I said, no, I think I bought it a long time ago planning on reading it and then just never got around to it. And it was so good, you guys. If you loved the Dean and Allie from the show, you are going to eat up the Dean and Allie from the book. Same energy. I'm obsessed with both of them. I do feel like it just makes you understand the characters so much more, and you can absolutely tell that the actors who play those characters read this book and really tried to model their characters and their acting choices off of all the information that we're going to see in their season next year. If you have not watched the show, bare bones of the story is Dean has always been a kind of college playboy man whore, but in an endearing, charming way. And he also isn't going around breaking hearts because he sort of has this reputation for being there for a good time, not a long time. He's never been a relationship guy. He's get in, get a couple O's, get out. He keeps it simple, he keeps it sexy. Allie is a relationship girl and has been in an on-again, off-again relationship with the same boy for years, and her boyfriend is snooze. He's boring. What's her boyfriend's name again? Sean, he doesn't really understand her. They're just not right for each other. He's not necessarily a big villain, but if you're a girl who has ever dated a man and you were just bored in the relationship, Allie wants more out of life. She's an actress. She's theatrical. She wants passion. When she finally decides to dump Sean for the last time, she decides that there would be no one better than the Dean De Laurentiis to help her explore this new single freedom and sensual side of herself with no expectations, no strings attached. We all know how stories like that end up, right? Right. I really loved how Elle Kennedy paced the growth of Dean's character throughout this story. Very believable, very satisfying. 5 stars. This next book, mark my words, by the end of this year or maybe even next year, it is going to be the next Divergent, Hunger Games. I truly believe this has the power to be like a book title everyone knows, everyone has heard about. At the beginning of spring, I had seen a handful of other accounts talking about this book. It had a really cool book cover and no one had a bad thing to say about it. I did not see a single person who did not adore this book. And they said that it was a spicy, true enemies to lovers dystopian romance. Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf. Now, this book was indie published, but was quickly picked up by a traditional publisher. I do believe it has a new book cover now and will officially relaunch, I think, in the fall. But you can still get your hands on it on Kindle Unlimited, I believe. And the audiobook is coming. This is the first book in the series. It does end on a devastating cliffhanger that leaves you shocked, sobbing, wanting more. Everything a good Cliffy should be. Shadra and Grayson live in a faction-based society. And Shadra is a Daggermouth, which is basically like an assassin for hire. And she resides outside the boundary. Grayson is the son of the President of the Heart, the evil, power-hungry dictator who runs the society. And Grayson is sort of forced into the position of being his executioner. And so everybody hates him because he's the one dealing out all of these sentences, punishing innocent people whose only crime was trying to survive, because the heart intentionally makes it impossible for them to do so. Someone very powerful and very wealthy hires Shadra anonymously to assassinate Grayson, heir to the heart. And she says, "Oh, bet, I have beef with Grayson, I have beef with the president, and I will take absolute pleasure wiping him from the face of the earth." And girl, she tries. She tries, and little does she know, Grayson might just want exactly that for himself after the life he's been forced into. But things don't go according to plan. In fact, they get really fucked. And they end up in the most delicious forced proximity situation you've ever heard. The side characters are so well written that you are just as invested in their subplots as the main characters. I pray to the book adaptation gods that this gets adapted one day for television. I feel like it would be great on screens. This book was incredible, very hard to put down, and I actually have no doubt that this will probably end up being in my top 3 books of 2026 by the end of the year. It was so good. Let's just get all the adaptations out of the way up front. Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, just recently adapted into an 8-episode series on Prime Video. So good, in my opinion. And apparently that's a hot take. I was so excited. I read this like 2 days before the show dropped, so everything was really fresh in my mind. And I genuinely felt like I was stepping right into Barry's Bay. The characters felt just like the ones I had just read about. Everything looked exactly how I imagined it. They did tweak some things and gave smaller side characters a much bigger role in the overall story. But I don't think any of those changes really changed the heart of the story. But there are a lot of people who disagree with that. All I can say is I read the book, loved it, watched the show, and loved it too. I did wonder though that maybe the fact that I did read this so close to the release of the TV show made it easier for me to like the TV show, because I didn't give myself much time to hope and anticipate and have an expectation of what the show should be in my head before I just could watch it. And so maybe if you read this last year or even back when it was written in 2020 and you've really had time to create this version of what the show should have been or what the movie should have been in your head, and it wasn't exactly like that, why there would maybe be disappointment. So yeah, maybe because I didn't have expectations going into it, I was just able to enjoy it for what it was. But it felt very true to the book in spirit to me. This is a childhood, friends to lovers, angsty summer romance told in Barry's Bay, BC. Sam and Percy meet when they're like 12 and 13, I think. Percy's family buys a lake house in Barry's Bay, and she meets the two neighbor boys, Sam and Charlie Florrick, Sam being the younger brother, and they quickly become fast bestest friends. Present day, it has been over a decade since they've seen each other or spoken, and you don't know why, you just know that it was bad. Whatever happened was enough for her to have ghosted him for a decade. But she's now breaking that streak of no contact and coming back to Barry's Bay because Sam and Charlie's mother has passed away. She's now thrust back into this world that she ran away from and is forced to confront all of those things that she ran away from. All the while, we get to see flashbacks of the summers that they spent building their relationship into this beautiful love story that ended when they were teenagers. And that transitions perfectly into the older brother Charlie Florrick's story, One Golden Summer. I love Charlie. He's so like fun and full of himself, but in a way that is still very self-aware. And you know that like under all of that snark and cockiness, he has like a really good heart and really cares for people. And he does play a really big role in Every Summer After. So seeing how he transitions from that into his own romance, so good. Both 5 stars. I would absolutely recommend them both. Evil is Forever by Trulina Pucci. Now this is book 2, book 1 being One Killer Night. And even though Evil is Forever follows a new set of main characters, you still have to read One Killer Night first because there is this sort of mystery, suspenseful subplot that continues on through Evil is Forever that you can't really just dive into without the information One Killer Night's gonna give you. But they're both so good. Evie is a special effects makeup artist who's all like sex and confidence and sass, and Chase is a hilariously hot blonde, yes I said it, hashtag end hate for blonde men, chef. Men who can cook, hot. I'm actually not going to give too much away for you guys because so much of what is good about these is the not knowing, is the suspense and the plot twists. All I will say about it is that there is nothing Trulina Pucci can't write incredibly well. I would categorize this as a dark romantic suspense rom-com, and you're gonna love it and you should read it. This next one is not a literary masterpiece. I adore this book. I adore this series and the universe that it encompasses. Burn by Gemma Ware. This is the 5th or 6th book in the Montana Mountain Protector series. And the thing about the series and all the books in this universe is that they are not meant to be taken seriously. All the male main characters are toxic, possessive, crazy, and so over the top that it forces you to suspend reality and just kind of laugh and enjoy it. At least that's what I do. And the male main character in Burn, you guys, Knight, I think he actually did take the #1 spot for me as a male hero in the Montana Mountain Men universe. And you know why that is? All the books in this series are love at first sight, insta-love, insta-lust. And there is a similar formula for every book in this series. Gemma will give you a little bit of context on both characters, where they're coming from, and then they meet, the guy goes psycho and takes over this girl's entire life until she falls in love with him happily ever after. And like I said, there is something just so insane about a regular dude seeing a girl from across the street and saying, no, that's the girl I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, and literally kidnapping her, throwing her over his shoulder and tossing her in his truck. And everyone in town kind of knows this love at first sight legacy, that it's pretty acceptable behavior at this point. Locals don't bat an eye. But what made Knight special was the fact that his character is on the spectrum. He's a very serious man. He's very strict about his schedule, his workout routine, the times of day that he eats. His autism coupled with his OCD requires that type of lifestyle. And Octavia is a very type B, artistic, gothic, Lolita grunge tattoo artist, polar opposite of him. But he sees her and is like, that girl is the love of my life. So obsessed and sure about her on site to the point that they barely speak 2 words together. She walks away thinking, oh, I met a guy at a house party. And he walks away, goes and buys hundreds of acres worth of land up the mountain, custom builds them a house with her and the family he wants to build with her in mind. And only once that is done does he go get her. And then he brings her to the house and is like, yeah, this is our house. I built it for us. You can decorate it however you want. I make good money. It's all yours now. And like, there was just something so seamless about how their relationship worked. And even when they had like conflicting priorities, like him waking up at 5 a.m. every day to work out, she's like, I'm a tattoo artist. I'm sometimes tattooing till 9 p.m. or midnight. Like, she's not an early bird. But he cannot deviate from his routine or else it gives him extreme anxiety and starts to really wear on him after some time. And he always finds the sweetest ways to compromise and meet in the middle. He's also extremely codependent on her to the point that he literally quits his job. After he builds the house and brings her home, he quits his job and says, yeah, the rest of my life is just going to be following this girl around. I'll protect her. I'll bring her food. I'm going to take care, like, that's my job, to take care of my woman for the rest of my life. But his compromise for stuff like that is, oh, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. to do my workout routine, but my lady needs to sleep. Okay, he's got an entire home gym downstairs. He builds a bed and rest area in his home gym, and every morning he carries her sleeping body to his home gym so that she can sleep while he works out, and he doesn't have to be apart from her for like a second. Like, he genuinely can't handle for her to be out of his sight for longer than a few minutes at a time. And it was so much more endearing for his character because he's on the spectrum and because those attachment styles are so much more real and genuine for people who experience that. And it wasn't like some of the other male leads in the series that felt like as soon as they met the girl they wanted to marry, their whole personality and like priorities flipped a switch. I just love them so much. Mariposa by Lexi Axelson. This book was such a surprise. Not that I'm surprised I liked it. I knew I was gonna like it because it's ex-boyfriend's dad. I picked it up specifically because it was an ex-boyfriend's dad. And it ended up turning out to be so much more than that. It was an incredibly beautiful, incredibly emotional story about family, endurance, the military. Violet's dad was in the special forces, but was killed in action. And she wants to honor her dad by joining the special forces. Something that her mother and her fiance are incredibly against, but she kind of doesn't really care. She's gonna do it anyway. This is not only something that she wants to do, it's something she feels she needs to do. But once she gets there, her special ops instructor, the Beast, who's a total hard ass, by the way, also super sexy, and happens to be her ex-boyfriend's dad. I don't know, is that or for me, I love it. In romance books, daddies always do it better. This was a great read, and I would highly recommend the audiobook. The narrators do a phenomenal job in their performance. Angel of Darkness and Angel of Light by Stephanie Amaral. This is a mafia princess ex-bodyguard duet. And while they are technically books 4 and 5 in a series, and I would definitely recommend reading books 1 through 3 first, you can just read this as a standalone duet. Allison and Max, so hot, so frustrating with their Romeo and Juliet complex. They were basically love at first sight, but neither one was in a position to fall for the other. After one beautiful night together where he takes her virginity, next morning he basically leaves a note telling her that she was nothing more than a cheap hookup, and she spends the next several years of her life hooking up with other dudes, kind of becoming her own person, while he pines for her from the sidelines, being her personal bodyguard, having to watch all the damage he inflicted. It truly is such a Romeo and Juliet dynamic, with all the same like frustrations and tragedy, except for they get a happy ending eventually. but only after a devastating cliffhanger with Angel of Darkness, leading into an incredibly satisfying conclusion in Angel of Light. If you are a Mafia girly, this is truly my favorite Mafia series I have ever read. But if you do decide to dive into the series as a whole, what I will say, book 1 is good, books 2 and 3, great, and books 3 and 4, just as great, but in a different way. But I like to tell people, if you're not obsessed after book 1, I guarantee you will be after the duet that is books 2 and 3. Oh my god, Snow by Brittany Nicole. I knew I would like this because I like Brittany Nicole, but I didn't know it would be so good. This is like a sexy, fun, how to lose a guy in 10 days age gap rom-com, where she is a relationship advice columnist and he's an ex-professional hockey player. She's supposed to find a guy to date to get insights for this series that she's doing on her column, and someone in his circle bets him that he can't keep a relationship longer than a certain amount of time. And so he takes the bet because if he wins, then his nephew or the son of one of his best friends, I can't remember, will be allowed to do this hockey thing that his parents didn't want him to do, but that they will let him do if his uncle can win this bet. You guys, not only did this have really good pacing, really good character development and banter, it also had a plot twist that sent me into the stratosphere. Genuinely, this book was good. A solid 4 stars good. Till the plot twist hit, instant 5. Instant 5-star. I was so obsessed. And the way that that plot twist shifted things and how things had to come together for it to work out for these characters in the end was just incroyable. Like, I wanted to scream the plot twist from the rooftops so many times, but there was something that felt so good about discovering the plot twist in real time that I don't actually want to rob anyone of that experience. I want you to be just as shocked and thrilled as me. So read it, enjoy, then DM me so we can both scream about it. And lastly, Of Ink and Alchemy by Sloane St. James. This is also a book that I would highly encourage you to experience in audio. Actually, Snow too. I forgot to mention it. Snow had an incredible cast of narrators, but now we're talking about Ink and Alchemy. I'm actually just gonna read you guys the synopsis for this book because I feel like it can hook you and give you all the information you need in a more concise way than I could. So I'm gonna read this and just know that I was obsessed the whole time I read this book. All's fair in love and war at a tattoo parlor. Even before her father's death, Kelly Everett always knew Logan Teller was someone she could rely on. Now he's taken over the Black Rabbit tattoo shop and brought her along with him. And while Kelly still finds her former crush and current mentor hot as hell, they're firmly in the friend zone, or so she thinks. Logan's been biding his time, but he's no longer leaving anything to chance. Not since Kelly started getting serious with her boring boyfriend. And as Logan manipulates the situation and sabotages the couple every chance he gets, Kelly starts to notice all the ways her Jason doesn't quite measure up to the man who's always been such a huge part of her life. When her relationship with Logan suddenly goes from playful and platonic to strictly sinful, Kelly can't stop herself from falling head over heels. But just as things are heating up between them, she starts receiving anonymous messages with information only a few, including Logan, could possibly know about her. Can she trust him after all? So we have not one, but 2 sexy tattoo artists. They're best friends. He is pining and obsessed with her even from the shadows the whole story. And there's a stalkery subplot? Say less. Say less. Whew, you guys, we did it. We made it. When I am talking about books that I am obsessed with, I am such a fucking chatterbox. I will just go on and on and on. But it's all for you guys. It's for your benefit. Because I think I have good taste. And we're only just halfway through the year. Who knows where the back half will take us? Because I still have some of my most anticipated reads of the year releasing at the end of summer, early fall. It's gonna be grand. Thank you so much for watching. I put up new videos every Monday. Oh, and if you're interested in any of the books I talked about today, I'll have them linked in my Amazon storefront, just for it to be convenient and for you to just browse if you want to pick any of them up. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week, and happy reading.